Megamaniacs, this is Mr. MegaManFan, and I'm taking a look at Captain Cat for the Nintendo Switch and reviewing it for you today. And since I have a few things to get out of the way first, let's let the credits scroll for a minute while I give you the following disclaimers. I was given a promotional copy of this game by Hidden Trap slash Super Indie Games. Hidden Trap is the developer. I believe Super Indie Games is the publisher because they are the name of record on the email saying promo codes delivered on request. So I requested, they delivered. However, they've not told me what to say in this review. I've received no consideration for this review, and my thoughts on Captain Cat are entirely my own. I wanted to give you that full disclosure that I did receive a promotional copy of the game, but that is all. This is my first time doing anything like this on my channel, getting a promo copy, so I guess I must have hit some kind of plateau after I got to 900 subscribers, and that's thanks to each and every one of you that's watching this video right now. So without further ado, let's get into the actual gameplay of Hidden Cat, which is $6.99 in dollars and euros and $6.29 in pounds, so the price varies slightly depending on what country you live in. Now, Daniel Segarra, the CEO of Hidden Trap, says Captain Cat brings fresh puzzle action to Nintendo Switch. And I have to be honest at this point, fresh? Well, I wasn't paid for this review, so I can say what I want, and I mean this in both the nicest and in the clearest way possible. This is an iOS one-touch button game. And I don't just mean that figuratively, I mean that literally. If you search Captain Cat game on Google, the very first thing that comes up is Captain Cat for your iOS, iPhone, iPad, etc. This was a game that they basically developed for devices with no buttons. So don't assume that you're using any of the tilt or gyroscopic features. Don't assume you're using your shoulder buttons or any of the analog sticks. No, you are literally touching one button to play this entire game. You could play this game on your phone just as easily as you could on your Switch, but you wouldn't have your nice handheld screen or, as I have it docked here for this video, a nice HD display. So basically what you're getting for $6.99 is a much bigger display than you would on your phone. That is the key difference here. Now when I say it's an iOS style game, that's not all bad either, because there are some iOS games that I really enjoy, some mobile phone games that I play quite a bit of, games like Bejeweled Blitz and Simon's Cat. I have no problem with that. And this isn't one of those games where you have to make in-app purchases when you run out of lives or don't have enough gold bars or whatever the in-game currency is. Your $6.99 gets you the full game, no hidden agenda, no fee to pay, as Jim Sterling would say. This game is exactly what it appears to be, complete and ready for you for your $6.99. So the question is it worth $6.99? Well, as you can see, the gameplay mechanic here is that you're a cat who is just starving for fish. And the way he gets the fish is he moves his trolley back and forth along the surface of the ocean, and he picks the exact right spot where he wants to drop his line. Once you drop your line, that's where the one-touch mechanic comes in, because your line swings back and forth on what looks like some kind of anchor, but I guess it's your hook. And when it swings, you can hit the button, and then while you're holding the button, the line extends. So that's all the gameplay mechanic there is. You choose the angle while it's swinging, then you hit the button to extend the line, and you hold the button for as long as you want the line to go out. If you hit a wall, you lose and you have to do it over again. If you hit an obstacle, you lose and have to do it over again. But if you're successful, if you hit the fish, you reel it in and you score. And the faster you do it, the more points you score. And the more things you touch along the way that aren't obstacles, the more bonus points you score. As you can see, there are coins, there are treasure chests, and there is some degree of challenge to this because you're maneuvering around walls and not just going in a straight line to your fish. And it actually gets more complicated as you advance in the levels of the game because they make you go through holes, and some of the holes are very close to walls. And if you hit those walls, obviously you have to start over again. It's kind of like Portal for an iOS game because you're going through one hole and coming out another hole in an entirely different location, as you are about to see here. So, I've outlined the fact that this is basically an iPhone slash Android slash Samsung Galaxy slash Google whatever their phone is called game. I don't know how many of those platforms you can get it on, but I know you can get it on iOS devices. So the $64,000 question, or perhaps the $699 question here, is can you get enough enjoyment for the price that you're paying to make it worth it? I guess that depends on how you feel about one-touch games. It would be so much simpler of a game if you could use your D-pad or an analog stick to actually move your fishing line, but then that would remove all of the challenge of the game, and there would essentially be no game to play. The game figuratively, literally pivots around the one-touch mechanic, and it wouldn't work any other way. So the challenge is arbitrarily defined by the controls rather than the game itself necessarily being hugely challenging. But there's something to be said for that. Sometimes games that have controls that force you to play the game a certain way can be highly enjoyable. I think pinball is a good example of that. And if you think about it in terms of what you're doing with the flippers, that's kind of a one-touch game. But then, of course, with flippers, there's also pressure on the buttons that you flip it with. So the harder you hit it, the harder the ball is going to come off the flipper. And that certainly doesn't apply to this game. It doesn't matter how hard you hit the button, the response is going to always be exactly the same. So your only challenges here are to wait until the line swings into the right position, hit the button, and then avoid the walls. But at least they've made it intriguing with the layout of the levels, the fact there are 50 of them total, and a bonus 25 if you complete those. So there is definitely some amount of entertainment in this game. $6.99, it's debatable, but I would say, considering this is an ad-free version of a one-touch game, $6.99 is probably preferable to seeing an ad between every level, or if you, quote, run out of lives, unquote. So, I think it skirts the borderline of being worth it. If you like these type of one-touch games, if you like puzzle games, and you don't mind that it's an arbitrary challenge because you can't actually control the line other than by using one touch and swinging it back and forth, then you're fine. This is probably a game that's best suited for younger players. Not just because of the cartoony cat and the one-touch mechanic, but because there's no mature themes in this. There's no gratuitous sex or violence. There's no cursing. There's no firing of automatic weapons. So this is a game for all ages, to be sure, but definitely one intended for younger players. So maybe if you're a Switch owner that has kids and you don't want them playing stuff like Doom or Diablo or Castle Wolfenstein, then you can go, hey, how about Captain Cat? And at that decision, then $6.99 might actually be worth it for the hour or two that your youngster can get out of playing this game. But older gamers might look at it as being a little too limited in the mechanic and a little too simplistic in the controls, and I understand that position. But for me, simplistic doesn't necessarily equal bad. Let's take Pac-Man, for example. That is a very simplistic game. You're not jumping, you're not doing anything ridiculous with a bunch of different combos you have to remember like a fighting game. But Pac-Man is a lot of fun, and all you do is move around a maze, chomp dots, eat energizers, chomp ghosts, and eat fruit. You traverse a maze with a joystick. Very simple game, but also very fun game and very addictive game where your only goal is to do better than you did the last time, to eat more ghosts and score more points and improve upon your previous performance. And there is something to be said of that in Captain Cat. Maybe he's a Mr. I don't want to assume his gender, but Captain Cat here. You can get a better score by completing levels faster, so you can create your own challenges. You can decide, well, I cleared this level, but I can clear it faster and get a higher score. So play the game any way you want to at this price. Once again, I would like to thank Hidden Trap and SuperIndie.Games for giving me this promo copy for review, and I'd like to thank all of you for watching. I hope you found this review helpful and informative, and you've got a clear picture now of what Captain Cat is and whether or not you would want to spend $6.99 on it. I think for the right person, for the right audience, it might be worth it. And it's not a bad game, it's just a simple game. But simple isn't always bad. Mr. Mega Man Fan, signing out.